15 years ago, today, the third episode of South Pacific, Endless Blue, first aired. This episode focuses on what would be considered the most boring part of the ocean, the massive empty zones between islands. Despite this premise limiting the entertainment, it still manages to be an interesting episode, mainly through the use of an intriguing framing device. The episode opens with footage from previous episodes before showing a single solitary sperm whale, Physta macrocephalus, and asking, why is it, in the midst of all these endless riches, the world's largest predator can struggle to survive in this endless blue? We are then introduced to the aforementioned framing device, a recreation of the destruction of the Essex, which is believed to have been the true story behind the book Moby Dick. Next we see bull sperm whales migrating to the tropics where they breed, as the warm water provides a good environment for their young. We also see an albino sperm whale calf. Then we see a recreation of a whaling mission, before being told of a story of how one bull sperm whale rammed into and destroyed the Essex before whalers were able to escape in smaller whale boats. The next segment tells about the desolate region, now known as the South Pacific Gyre, the least plankton-rich segment of the ocean in the world. We then see the tiny ecosystems that form around floating debris. We continue following the stranded crew as they float through the South Pacific Gyre before seeing the Galapagos, unreachable by the survivors due to the winds being in the wrong direction, and we see the diverse aquabiota of these islands due to the Antarctic Circumpole and Humboldt currents. We once again see overlong shots of Galapagos sea lions and pinglings. Next we see manta rays, Mobula birostrus, before seeing even more shots of seawater lions, this time hunting a fishbowl. Then we return to the Essex survivors, and the narrator explains that at night many deep-sea creatures emerge to the surface to feed on plankton. Then we see a small pod of short-finned pilot whales, Globicephala macrorhynchus, who are able to survive due to their diving down to the deep sea to hunt, but this pod itself is hunted by an oceanic white-tip shark, Carcharodonus longimanus, who intends to feed on their calf. They successfully escape the shark, unlike many of the survivors of the Essex, as the oceanic white-tip is well known for hunting the survivors of shipwrecks. The next segment starts with footage of red-tailed tropic birds, Phaethon rubricorda, before we see a great frigate bird, Fregata minor, heading home to roost, as well as a black-footed albatross feeding its young. Next we see sooty terns being fed, whilst being stalked by frigate birds, who wait until the parents are not guarding in order to eat the young. We then see the coral reefs around the French frigate's shoals, where cleaning fish clean a green sea turtle, Chelonia midas. Then we see fledgling black-footed albatrosses taking their maiden flights and being hunted by tiger sharks, again. Next we return once again to the Essex survivors, and the narrator explains their arrival on the Pitcairn Islands, where they somehow ate the entirety of the island's seabird population in 1 week, before heading back into the South Pacific Gyre. Next segment shows us a migrating bull sperm whale again. This time it is migrating to New Zealand, or Aotearoa. We then see massive kelp forests made up of the giant kelp, Macrocystis pyrifera, inhabited by moray eels, short-tailed stingrays, Bathytotia brevicordata, and other fish, many of whom are hunted by dusky dolphins, Lagenorhynchus obscurus. we then return to end the story of the Essex survivors, as one of the whale boats is spotted by another ship and its inhabitants rescued, 400 miles from Chile, having had to have resorted to cannibalism. Next, we see a pod of sperm whales stranded in a harbour, but the last surviving whale is rescued. This episode's diary segment, Shark Attack, focuses on the crew's efforts to film tiger sharks attacking albatross in the French frigate Shoals. They build a special platform to film from above while the dive team films underwater. As you'd expect, the dive team is quite unsuccessful in their first few attempts, as well as being set back by wind, rain and poor underwater visibility, but are eventually able to get the footage which is shown in the final episodes.
As you might be able to tell, this is not one of my favourite episodes.
The central theme of the episode is not very interesting, and the tale of the Essex gets repetitive later in the episode, as well as the other segments not being particularly related to the main theme, as well as many being the same as in previous episodes. The latest segment centering my personal favourite Pacific Island, Aotearoa, are better. So far, I'd say this is the least good episode. I'm not going to say worst, because I don't think any of these episodes are bad. But if you've enjoyed this, then join me next week for the review of episode 4, and maybe give this video a like and subscribe. Goodbye.